Hello everyone, this is Dan Gramza, and welcome to Gramza Market Studies for Monday, November 30th. Also, greetings from New Zealand. I'm in Wellington. Haven't visited the capital of New Zealand before, and as you know, it's on the coast at the bottom of the Northern Island. Beautiful area, very hilly, also very green, just a very nice city. Well, let's take one more poke at what we're looking for on Friday, and that was we were looking at the idea that the market may give us a little bit of a pullback. That the news that came out wasn't necessarily that bearish from my perspective. Does Dubai owe about 80 to 90 billion dollars, depending on what account you look at? Yeah, it's a lot of money. And what we're talking about is $3.5 billion, I think, on the note that they're asking for a deferred payment. Well, again, they're not defaulting. And some people are saying that you could consider it a default, but they're asking for an extension. That's really what's happened. And, it's their brother, Abu Dhabi, in the sense, it's another emirate that has most of the oil. Are they also going to let them fall by the wayside? I have a hard time imagining that. So again, is it news? Yes. Is it as serious as they've made it out to be? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are participating in that debt. I don't want to discount that, but I just think it's, the market is very sensitive to any news regarding credit, and I think that's what we're seeing. My bias for today, we're looking for a move to the upside. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with these indices. The Nasdaq has almost come back to that buy point there. Nice little bounce on Friday. Looks nice and healthy. And so we're looking for an up day today in these indices. Now, talking about that, what do you think then about the currencies? Well, in the currencies, I'm looking for the same thing. I'm looking for a bounce back to the upside. In the euro, that was our sell point. It reached a magnitude objective, and it also came back through this buy point, which means it would have initiated a long position in that market. And this difference here was 30 ticks, or $375 a contract. In the Swissy, the same kind of situation. That was 20 ticks, or $250. Plus, it did reach a magnitude objective. Again, we're looking for follow through. Our friend Mr. Yen did back off. Wow, what a move in that market. That is so impressive. Now, the difference between that red line and that green line, you see the green represents a buy level, the red represents a sell level, and the difference between those lines is 410 ticks, or a little over 4 big figures. And that would be $5,375 per contract in that move. And what a move. Isn't that interesting? Now, what do we expect from our friend Mr. Yen? We're looking for this thing to back off further. We're looking for weakness today in that market. We're looking for strength in these other currencies, including our friend, the Australian dollar. Looking for that to pull back. The British pound did. And that also gave us a difference between that red line and that green line in that particular move. That was 110 ticks, or $687.50 is the dollar value of that move. Canadian dollars, also a difference between that sell point and that buy point, was $400. And what are we looking for? We're looking for that bounce back to the upside. So it's going to be interesting to see how Asia opens up on Monday. Asia, Australia, New Zealand, time zone. Because where I am now is where the markets begin to trade on Monday. And that's our Sunday night in Chicago. Now, let's move on. Let's take a look at those interest rates. Talk about volatility. If you and I saw the volatility in the, stock indices, currencies, well, just imagine what we're going to see here in the interest rates. The short end of the curve fell out of bed. It closed out that position that had been in from a long perspective that was over a month that long position was held, and right now we got a little push here to the downside. Looking for a pullback actually in that market. The notes made new highs, yes they did, but on selling as these other markets that we've discussed started to recover. Now, that difference in the notes between that sell point and this buy point in that particular market, that's $1,125 per contract. Just again to kind of give you a feel for what those numbers represent. In the bonds also came back through that sell point from this buy point, and that difference would be $3,812.50 would be the dollar value of that move. And what are we looking for? We're actually looking for weakness in the interest rates for today's action. Now, in the metals markets, we got to expect some volatility there too. And you can see here, this market sold off in gold. It would have reached a magnitude objective, which is good. And it bounced right back up. So that's kind of an interesting setup. We are looking for follow through to the upside. Silver did the same type of thing. Gave us that break and also gave us a bounce right back up. These green lines here would represent the concept of a buy position as the market went through those levels. So we're looking, same thing for copper. So what are we looking for? We're looking for these buyers to continue to the upside. That's what we want to see. And we're looking for that to happen today. If we would have closed weak, in other words, if we would have closed at these lows, excuse me, then the behavior that you and I would look for would be totally different. But with this kind of a bounce, that's what we would expect. All right, now let's move on and let's take a peek at what's happening with the energy market. Again, volatility was there as well, as we see this market bounce right back up. One of the issues with, again, crude oil up here is the dollar. If the dollar goes down, crude oil prices are going to go up, because if you were pricing your product in US dollars, you need to have more US dollars to offset the weakness in the US dollar, and I think that's probably what we're seeing here. This is not a fundamental market in terms of supply, demand, all those kind of things. Anyways, we did bounce right back up here in crude oil. Natural gas came back. Look at that volatility. Popped right through that sell point. Here's the buy point in that market. The difference between these lines actually is $675 a contract. And we're right back up there. So if this can get up and get going, which would be very interesting to see, in that market I'm really looking for kind of an unchanged type day. Not necessarily a violent day today, but it'll be interesting to see how we do unfold there. Now the grains. Well, soybeans popped right back up here, initiated a long position. It looks nice and healthy. There is something I do want to point out to you. We've been talking about trades that have worked, but I just want to show you one, and I know we do this in the advanced videos, but I want you to be aware of part of that discussion I'm going to be having just in a little bit with those viewers. But here's an example of a trade that popped through here. It did not reach a magnitude objective, came within a couple pennies of doing that. So as it rotated back up, this would have created a losing trade. Now on the upside, when it went through that buy point here, that would have reached a magnitude objective, and that would have offset that previous loss and also garnered a little bit of profit. This would have created a $250 loss, and this would create a $500 profit for one half of the position. That would be the concept, like we were talking about in the foundation course. Okie doke. That's what's going on with that. Let's take a look at corn. Corn also, it popped right back up here. And if you look at it from that sell point to this buy point, because when it went through that, it would have closed out that position. That would be the concept. That would be 4 cents or $400. $200, excuse me. That would be the dollar value of that move. Same thing in Mr. Wheat. That also is a sell point, came back through that buy point, and that would be $400 or 8 cents. So what are we looking for in the grains? We're looking for unchanged to higher across the board for today's session. Can't wait to see what happens. Looking forward to being with you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, take care.